Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Family Services Family Partnership Center. It is an honor to join you in this significant moment in New York State's commitment to public safety and survivors of domestic violence. I want to thank Governor Hochul for your leadership in protecting survivors and their families. Thank you to the many elected officials who worked tirelessly to make Melanie's law a reality. Thank you to the staff of Family Services who work every day alongside survivors on their journey to safety. At Family Services, we know that systemic change is the only way to build safer communities. That's what this law represents. The most important thank you goes to Cheryl. Cheryl, your courage and determination to turn tragedy into change will save thousands of lives. And we are honored to continue this work in Melanie's name. It is now my distinct honor, one of the coolest things I've said in my career, I told the governor, to welcome the first woman to lead New York State, the first woman to center families, women, and children in all policy and decision-making, our Governor, Kathy Hochul.
Thank you, Leah, for welcoming us here and for all the work you're doing on behalf of people who sometimes see the darker side of life. Love and relationships are supposed to be uplifting and empowering and to guide us to better lives. And when they turn to a place of darkness, it's so great to have places and professionals like yourselves and others who really are committed to helping others get out of the situations they're in. So I'll be speaking more about why this is a family journey for me, but I also am so grateful to all of the people who are here today. We have a great team. We have individuals who are working so hard in Albany to make sure that we do what's right for our citizens. And I want to give a special shout out to Senator Michelle Hinchy, a great ally of ours. We've spent a lot of time here in her district. She's a tremendous champion. I want to thank her. Brian Cunningham, our assembly member who understood the need to get this law over the finish line through the assembly. Thank you. Sue Serino, who's our county executive, but when she was a senator, this was her initiative. And I want to make sure we hear from her today and thank her for her work. And I want to thank Rob Rollison, our senator, a local senator. Appreciate you joining us here today. And Anil Beekman, thank you for joining. And Jonathan Jacobson and Dee Dee Barrett, friends of mine from a long time. Great to have such representation from the Hudson Valley, and always good to have our DA with us. We provide a lot of support services for our district attorneys and making sure that people like DA Parisi have the resources they need to fight battles like this. Let me say this. We are here because of a family story, which could have been any family in this whole state. And one never knows why anyone is singled out, what happens. But there is a family that was swept up with this vicious cycle of fear and intimidation and ultimately domestic violence. We're here on behalf of Melanie, a young woman, smart woman who was educated in this community. She's from here, she's one of us, and her life was cut so tragically short. And if it wasn't for the relentless advocacy of her mother, her story would have been buried a year and a half ago when we lost her. But her mother, Cheryl, said, no, my daughter deserved more. The system failed my little girl who would have been 32-year-old yesterday, a birthday celebration that should have been joined by mom and grandma who's here and her son, Miles. But instead, they just remember her in the past tense and think about what could have been, what should have been. And it's hard to fathom the trauma that Cheryl herself had to endure in an abusive relationship, but to have that manifest itself in losing her child, I can't think of a greater pain. And as I told Cheryl, when something that horrific happens to individuals, the human instinct says you recoil, you pull back, you say, I've suffered so much, I can't go on. But sometimes there's special people like Cheryl who goes so deep within herself to find the strength to use her voice on behalf of her daughter to make sure that no other family has to endure what her family did because the system was failing them. We know what happened. Cheryl filed the order of protection against an abusive boyfriend. That's what you do. You go to the court. You go to the system to protect you and your family. One was granted for Cheryl. One was granted for Miles, her grandson. But under the law that stood at the time, she couldn't protect her own daughter, Melanie. The courts were not equipped to protect her because the law did not allow it. So when the abuser couldn't get to her, he took it out on the most beloved person in her life. Go after Melanie, and that's exactly what he did. Melanie, you'll tell us more about her, and I'm sorry you look sad, Mom. She was a health coach. She was passionate about life. She wanted to help younger moms. Younger moms go through a lot. We talk a lot about that, how we're going to give relief to families in our next State of the State. This is my focus, family-centered. And Cheryl, turning your grief into activism, going on television, coming up to the state capitol, telling your story to journalists and elected leaders. And every time you have to tell that story, I'm telling you right now, I know what it does. It rips a hole in your heart a little bit wider. But you don't let that be a deterrent. You say, I'm hurting, I'm in pain to tell this again, but I need others to know the story of my child. You showed this strength, this toughness, which is so admirable. And all of us should draw inspiration from you and your story and how we are here today. I know a little bit about this because my own mother channeled the pain of what she saw in her own family. And back in the 1970s, no one talked about domestic violence. It was viewed as some weakness on the part of the woman if the relationship wasn't strong, and the woman got blamed. And these were called wife beaters. They didn't even treat it in cleaned up language, domestic abusers. They were wife beaters, but no one spoke about them. And my mother became a social worker and a champion for these individuals, and they hit all socioeconomic incomes, all levels. I mean, it wasn't just people in poverty and tough circumstances. These were the wives of prominent doctors and lawyers who lived in the silence and the shame of being abused in the sanctity of their own home. And my mother said enough because her own family had been disrupted like that. She saw what her own mother had to endure before her father abandoned her at a young age. So through my mother's strength that I see in you, Cheryl, I see the same strength that what you endure personally, you say, I cannot allow that to happen to other families. And you don't. My mom went to Albany herself, got laws changed, insisted on assembly hearings in Buffalo, where they finally realized that when someone calls 911 and the police officer goes to the door and the man answers and says everything's fine here and they used to leave, that they could no longer leave. The laws were changed to protect people in that circumstance. And my mom was a driving force behind that and opening a home for victims of domestic violence, something my family did when my mom was 70 years old because she wanted to help other families. We all became part of this. So this is part of who I am as well. Understanding pain into activism, into change. And now we have Melanie's Law. I wish my mom could have met you. She would have found a lot in common. She really would have. She would have seen your strength in your eyes. I can feel it, Cheryl. And I'm going to continue being this fighter, not just because of what I saw and the stories I had to hear, but for all those I feel responsible to protect, because my number one job as governor of the state of New York is to protect our citizens. We do it in countless ways. But this one is so deeply personal when the sanctity of your own home and your personal lives are so disrupted. So what we do at the state level with the support of our legislature, $35 million we just announced to go out to our district attorneys. They are the ones on the front line to fight domestic violence, the largest investment of its kind in history, giving prosecutors what they need. providing more services and crafting programs that are tailored to address problems in specific communities. And any way we can strengthen our laws, like red flag laws, to keep guns out of the hands of domestic abusers, we're saving lives. I'll close with this. There's nothing more powerful than a mother's love. It is deep. It's so intense. And I know you can't bring your daughter back, but you've kept her alive. You've kept her alive. And the second I sign this and hand that pen to you, I want you to cherish that pen and know you made this happen. So some other mother is not sitting here someday. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being such a great champion. Thank you. It's hard, isn't it? It's hard. I told her it's going to be hard when you get up here. But just speak to a room full of friends, people who love you, people who admire you for what you've done. So we'll be hearing from Cheryl in a couple moments. But right now I want to bring up another great champion, someone who loves her district with every fiber of her being. I've seen her exude this passion. It's intense. This is what you want to see in an elected official. This is the kind of intensity you want, someone who is unrelenting. And I just honor her so much for what she has done for our state and people like Melanie and her family. Let me introduce our Senator, Michelle Henchy.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are all here today because of a mother's remarkable courage and relentless advocacy for change. Cheryl, as we've heard here today, you have been a driving force that has not only brought hope for families in crisis, but has provided people with a stronger voice for their fight for safety through Melanie's Law. Today, because of your efforts and the support of so many in our coalition, Melanie's Law will finally live up to its name and become law. This day would not have been possible without the incredible leadership of Governor Kathy Hochul. Governor, thank you for recognizing that in the wake of profound loss, we as a state have the power to turn tragedy into progress. And thank you for sharing your personal story, your connection to this tragic series of events that we see time and again. It's your voice, your advocacy, and your understanding that makes it so palpable for us to be able to really impact change. Thank you. To my partners in government, to Assemblymember Cunningham, our assembly sponsor, to Senator Rollison, to Assemblymember Bepon, to Assemblymember Barrett, to Assemblymember Jacobson, my partners in the legislature, thank you for championing this bill with me, and thank you for your unwavering commitment to seeing Melanie's Law through to the finish line. I also want to thank our hosts at Family Services, everyone at Family Services, but especially Leah Feldman. Your work has been a lifeline for so many survivors and families across our community, and we are deeply grateful to have you as a partner, not only in this fight, but in so many. You are a shining beacon for our community here in Dutchess and beyond, and we thank you for the work that you and your entire team does here. Truly, we're better for it. As many of you know, Melanie was a young woman in the prime of her life, a devoted mother, daughter, and friend who dedicated herself to helping others. She was on the path to becoming a certified substance abuse counselor, driven by empathy and a desire to make a difference in her community. She was a light for so many, especially her young son, Miles. We will always remember Melanie for the extraordinary person that she was, and now New Yorkers everywhere will too. Domestic violence leaves a trail of trauma that affects entire families, and when people come forward for help, they deserve a legal system that offers both protection and compassion. Melanie's Law will help do just that. For the first time, it will effectively ensure that orders of protection can also extend to relatives of domestic violence victims, providing a vital safeguard for those who often bear the ripple effects of that abuse. There are many issues that we get to touch and that we get to help problem solve in this job that I am so honored to be able to do. But when, at the time, Senator Serino approached me about this bill that was so close to her heart, it was a no-brainer to pick up and carry forward. Sue, I want to thank you for starting this venture, for being an incredible champion in this space, and for all of us making sure that we never stopped pushing to get Melanie's Law done. With every issue that we get to deal with, some of them just push through to the top. Some of them are ones that you wake up thinking about, or there are people that you meet in that journey that stay with you no matter what. And Melanie's Law and this issue has been one of those. I'll speak for me. Getting to know Cheryl, you and your family, understanding the scale of this problem and this challenge, and something that we had the power to change by closing a loophole. We have a power to make sure that other people don't have to be sitting in this position, and they'll know for decades to come that this family and that we collectively in this community were able to stand together to make a huge change for them in their lives. And that is something that is incredibly impactful and profound for me, so thank you. Melanie's Law is not just a piece of legislation, it's a promise that her life and memory will now be a beacon of hope for the countless families who will use Melanie's Law to seek safety. Thank you all for being here. And again, thank you, Governor Hochul, for signing Melanie's Law today. We are forever grateful. I now have the honor of introducing my partner in this venture in the Assembly sponsor, Assemblymember Cunningham.
I'm a long way from Brooklyn, but I feel right at home in the Hudson Valley. And I just want to first start by thanking Cheryl for your courage, for your fight, for your resilience, and for making this issue one that we can fight for together. I want to thank the governor for your extraordinary leadership and all the work you do to make sure families and children are safe throughout the state. And obviously to my partners, Senator Hinchey, Senator Didi Barrett, Senator Jacobs, Senator Rollins, and yes, my friend AJ Bepan. This fight has become a personal fight for me. When I first got to the legislature, I never thought that this would be the thing that I champion. But one of the benefits of being in the majority is we get to sit on the other side of the aisle and hear stories from different districts and different counties throughout the state and hear some of the challenges people are experiencing. And when AJ mentioned this bill to me, I knew that it was something that I was compelled to make sure we got through the finish line. And again, you have no better and stronger fighter than Michelle Hinchey in the Senate to make sure it got done. As we sat here today, since 12 o'clock, over 10 people died at the hands of domestic violence. That's 1 every 10 minutes. As we gather this week to celebrate Thanksgiving, there'll be a bunch of empty chairs. People who were tragically taken from us too soon. But today, when the governor sits at this desk and puts her pen on that bill, we would have gone a long way as a state to ensuring that the 140 young girls that are killed every year and the thousands of people that are victims of domestic violence would have some protection. I want to thank our partners, and I want to thank the original bill sponsor for your tenacity, for your courage, and for finding the loopholes in our current laws and ensuring that no family and no one in the state of New York is left behind. We will continue this fight to make sure that as we return to Albany in January, that we continue to make sure all New Yorkers are safe. Thank you so much for this opportunity to be here, and I look forward to continuing the fight. And with that, I bring before us your county executive, our former colleague in the state legislature, County Executive Sue Serrano. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everyone. You know, today is a moment of reflection and renewed hope as we sign Melanie's Law into effect. And thank you from the bottom of my heart, Governor, for coming here into our county and signing this bill, which means so much to all of us. You know, Cheryl, I'll never forget the day that you called me to tell me about the loss of your daughter, Melanie. As a mom and as a friend, to know someone lost their life because of a loophole in the law, I knew it was so important to take action to ensure that that didn't happen to another family. I want to especially thank Chandler Fontero and the entire team in the state Senate who worked tirelessly to draft this legislation, as well as Senators Hinchy and Senator Rollison and Assembly Members Bepan and Assemblymember Cunningham. Thank you so much for working with us to get that bill done and really pushing Melanie's Law forward and helping to make today a reality. Special thank you, as I said, to Governor Hochul for recognizing the importance of this bill and for your leadership in putting Melanie's Law in the books here in New York State. And I think it's really special because my friend Leah, too, what a great place to have this bill signed. You've been a champion for protecting women for many, many years. Thank you. And to Cheryl, I often say our personal stories propel us forward, and you've taken yours and turned it into action. Thanks to your advocacy, Melanie's legacy will go on to protect future survivors and their families. And I have no doubt that it will save lives. You always had faith that this day would come and never relented in your quest for justice. And I'm so proud to be here with you, my friend, as Governor Hochul officially signs Melanie's Law. And today, we're sending a clear message that we stand with survivors and reaffirm our commitment to working to ensuring that no family needs to endure what the Chianese family has done. And I see your mom and your husband back there too. Thank you. Together, let us continue building a future where compassion and justice guide us. Thank you. And now I'd like to ask my friend, Melanie's mom, Cheryl, to come up and say a few words.
Hi. I want to thank everyone for being here today as we celebrate, right? Yesterday was Melanie's birthday. She was going to be 32. So I can't think of a better way of honoring her as to signing this law today. Thank you, Governor Kathy Hochul, for coming here and for making this happen. And thank you, Leah, for having this here. It's beautiful. Family Services is very near and dear to my heart. They've been with me from day one on this journey. I remember the first phone call I made there to their 24-hour hotline. And I got an advocate, and the advocate worked with me every step of the way. That support was very, very appreciated. Thank you for having that service for people like me. Now, today we take a big step forward for helping survivors of domestic violence. Melanie's Law will save lives, and her legacy will live forever in our hearts. Melanie loved to help others. That was her dream in life and her goal. She wanted to be a certified drug and alcohol counselor. And if given the chance, she would have been a great one. Right? She graduated posthumously at Dutchess Community College with her associate's degree in human services. And now today, she will forever be known as Melanie's Law. Thank you. God bless everyone.
Thank you, everyone. That concludes our program for today.